So the first footage you saw was of the main mod, the Doom Remake 4 mod, and very briefly it says, have you ever dreamed about seeing Doom in HD or with a modern feel? And that's basically what the mod does. It brings it up to a much more modern looking aesthetic, some of which I like, some not so much. So this is where some of the additional mods and tweaks come in. And now for the additional tweaks and minor mods which are going to alter this sort of larger main mod to suit my tastes. It may not suit yours, but you can always leave out some of the additional mods that I'm going to include here. And as suggested at the beginning of the video, there is one for the item 3D models, but I've had difficulty getting this to be compatible with all the other additional mods, and my level of experience is rather limited. So in the end, after much trying to get things working, I had to concede that I was beaten on this one. So unfortunately, in this instance, only some of the 3D models are actually going to be present. So that's where this mod comes in. And then, as touched on in a previous video about Doom, we have Beautiful Doom, which I highly recommend. I think it's one of the best smaller Doom mods out there. And essentially what it does is to keep the original vanilla gameplay, but you will see things like casings, debris, an enhanced gibbing system, smoke, smoother weapon animations and so on. And I wholeheartedly recommend it. So that's why I've included it in this one once again. And like Beautiful Doom, Eri Guns was also included in the last Doom mod video, which was about Perdition's Gate. And once again, I'm using it to just beef up the weapons, add a bit of variety and so on. A weapon pack is never a bad thing in Doom. And much the same as before, as in the previous video that I did for Doom, I'll also be including Dark Doom into this installation, and I think it really does add a lovely touch in terms of the ambience and overall atmosphere into the game. So the sound caulking, if that's how you pronounce it, is very much about smoothing and polishing the overall sound experience, and now that we have creatures and objects that have their own sound, it makes the overall experience an even more sophisticated one. And for this video I'm using the PSX Doom download there. And I thought it was about time we had another outing with the alternate Dark Ambient music pack. There's 2 tracks or 2 files that come with this pack, and I'll leave them, like the other links will be in the video description. Right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the installation. Okay, so once you've downloaded the mod and extracted it to somewhere of your choosing, you're going to want to open up this file here, Doom Remake 4, and then I was greeted with this file here, or this folder. But as things stand at the moment, it's only going to play like you saw at the very beginning of the video. It won't have any of the additional tweaks in. So what we've got to do is to take 1 or 2 things out and put a few things back in. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight files 4 to 6, and these I'm going to delete. Then I'm going to delete number 11, which is the footsteps. Then delete number 15, which is the 3D models weapons, which, although it is a 3D models, which you may think we want, that will actually conflict with the file that I'm going to use, so we need to get rid of this. Next, remove number 17, which is the Brutal Doom stuff WOD. Okay, now we're ready to start adding various tweaks and mods to our file. And it doesn't really matter which order you add them in because you're going to rearrange them anyway. So the first one I'm going to add will be the items 3D models. And as I say, this will only give you some of them in a 3D form. Unfortunately, the armor won't be, neither will be, for example, the weapons or the health kits. Quite a lot won't be, as unfortunately each time I try to get it to function or work properly, something else would get broken. So in the end I've gone for this arrangement, which I think's a pretty good compromise. So just drag it in and go yes. Right, now if you were to try and load the mod like this, expecting to see some 3D models, you'll be very disappointed because you have to alter the way this looks. And I should add that don't get too hung up about the numbers. The order's important, but the actual specific numbers doesn't really matter. So for example, I've got Beautiful Doom there at 20.5. The important thing was that it came after this and before that. Having said that, it's quite possible you can arrange it in another order and it still work, but this is the order that I ended up with after a lot of checking and changing and testing, so as long as it works, that's all that matters. I'm just going to rename this. We want to lose the PK3 and we're going to use the word WOD. At the beginning, add the number. In this case, I've settled on 26. And make sure you hit that underscore. And then press enter. So if we were to load it up now, then you should see, like for example, the health files in a 3D form. Okay, so the next one's Beautiful Doom. Let's drop that in there. Once again, go yes. And what did I have it here as? 20.5, so I'm going to stay with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there we are, you see that it gets rearranged in the correct order. Then we move on to Airy Guns, or however you're supposed to say it. And it goes, and what number do we have here? 25. And then it's Dark DOOMZ. This is a great little mod, I recommend it, although it won't perhaps appeal to everyone. And that is to go to slot 23. And then we have the sound refinements, or sound CAULKIng. I'm using the PSX sound in this one, which I prefer, so you can use either of the links in the on the web page. And that's to go to number 24. Starting to sound like a bingo caller. And then we have the alternative or alternate Doom Ambient music pack. And if this isn't your bag, you can always use some Doom rock music or some other ambient tracks. And we need to rename this to 22. Right, bingo. So let's close the one that I made earlier. And this should now run. Now, I'm just going to test it first of all with the Ultimate Doom. So we'll start with the first level, Hangar. It's a good level to test things on. And then probably what I'll do is to play through a level of something different, maybe a map pack, some mega wad. And that should round off things quite nicely. So let's test the mod. Right, so if you've done things correctly, you should see something like this. So let's start a new game. And this option here is for, I believe, the Airy Guns mini mod. So I'm going to go for extended, which I think relates to reloading. I think if you choose standard, then I don't believe you reload. I won't swear to that, but I think I'm right. And just ultra violence for this testing part of the video. You can go man and a half, which is good fun, but it's quite a lot harder. And it'll take a moment or two just to get things running. As you can see, it's depending on your preference. It's certainly, well, I think it's the most impressive that I've seen so far. In most respects, anyway. So we've got the 3D models, or some 3D models. We've got the change of weapons. Reload. Got 3D models here, the armor. Oh, and some barrels as well. They look really good. Got the Dark Dooms running, as you can see. But the armor is a typical, or maybe it's very slightly modified, original. Is an original graphic. I'm struggling to find the right word there. And the way they're dying there tells me that Beautiful Doom's working. And it's got some nice Doom 3 sounds here, like when you pick up the armor. Some of these textures are just insane, really. The sound caulking, one example you can tell that it's working is if, like when you open the door, it will sound like the PSX door opening. That's one example. Others are the sounds the zombies make. Item pickups, I believe. And what else have we got? We've got the ambient sound in the background, so I think I've covered everything. So without further ado, let's get into a map pack of some kind. Right, so here we are in what is the Maps of Chaos for Doom 2. I did try a few other map packs. I tried Memento Mori, which is a very good one. And unfortunately, when you play other map packs, these HD textures are really going to be more reliable on traditional Doom maps and games, so I thought I'd stick with Doom 2, and I remembered Maps of Chaos is a very good map pack, so let's get stuck in. Maps of Chaos Hardcore WOD, and as you can see, 174 enemies and 8 secrets. I remember there being plenty of enemies last time I played this, but that was quite a while ago. Shotgun. Out of shotgun ammo. Ugh, I love it when that happens. Unfortunately, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you do get the HD jibs, which, if you know what you're doing, and I don't, then you can probably turn them off. So you get the traditional ones if you want to keep the standard enemies, which I do. Just find myself pausing, looking around at the textures. Look really great. Love the roof, the ceiling ones here. 3 in 1. Getting the old flickering texture, which I suppose is, you know, always going to happen. You know, when you start mixing things up a bit. Actually, I think I'll conserve the shotgun for a bit. Although it may take a long time with a pistol against a Hell Knight. You can turn off the health bars of the enemy if you so wish. There's a lot of configurable options in the menu. Funnily enough, I tend to find I don't use the chainsaw very much in Doom, but But in that situation, I'm more than happy to use it. Yeah, there's a secret here, isn't there? Yeah. That I do remember. I don't mind the stationary 3D models. I mean, like, that, it's okay, I don't mind it, but the reason I let out the HD models for the actual enemies was because it wasn't so much the way they looked, although I have mixed feelings about that. It's more a case of the way they move. It just doesn't look quite right to me. Three out of 8, and about just over a third of the way. I needed that, but I don't really need that. Right, grab some armor. Kind of mixing it up with turning the light on and off. Hopefully it doesn't turn out too dark in the final upload. Always like to have an exit out of the place, but where did you come from? Yeah, something's been triggered from somewhere. Am I that low on ammo? Oh, that's really bad news. Really bad. Cacodemon. This could be it then. And it was. It's called hardcore for a reason.